Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, my name is Alan and I'm from the US.
And my name is Leizell and I'm from Australia. So for today's video, we're going to be sitting down and talking to you guys about 5 things you need in order to make a long distance relationship work. Before we get into things, we just wanted to say that the advice that we give isn't professional. This is purely just stuff that Alan and I have experienced during our time in this long distance relationship, right babe?
Absolutely. We definitely have no professional advice here, but the things that we're gonna say is all through our experience. So
we figured that we would kind of sit down and chat with you guys and kind of talk about what our advice is when it comes to maintaining a long distance relationship so that it can really go the distance. So jumping into things, number 1 is, what is your why? It's really important to sit down with your partner and really figure out what is your reasoning for entering into a long distance relationship.
Right. I mean, pretty much anything you do has to have a why. You know, you have to have a purpose on why you're doing things. So it's definitely important.
Obviously, everybody's first thought would be that they love each other and they care about each other, and that's the reason as to why they would enter into a long distance relationship or continue a relationship at a distance. But I feel like it does also need to go a little bit deeper in that, in terms of really figuring out whether you guys have similar goals, a similar mindset, or similar values.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the way I got to know my whys and our whys is asking the right questions in the beginning. You know, I asked you so many things, and getting to know you really got to know what our why is. Like, we got the same goals, the same like, we have so many similarities within music and things like that, where I knew exactly why I want to be with you, like, because we like the same stuff, and our goals and our future, like, it's pretty much similar. Like, we want the same stuff. So that's how, for me, how I knew what our why is and my why is. So
yeah, I feel like that's really important when it comes to really setting the foundations for your relationship and really figuring out what the tone of it is going to be as well. And in saying that, if that is something that you and your partner have already spoken about, I feel like it is important to go over those things once in a while and talk about them again, just to know that the two of you are still on that same type of page with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, we as humans, we always make assumptions, and we always we just forget that those are the goals and our intentions. So like, you have to constantly remind each other your goals, because we forget. You know, life gets in the way. We do so many things every day that you have to remember why you're in this. So.
Yeah, it's important to check in with each other and just remind each other of what is your why, what is your reasoning for continuing to be in a long distance relationship. And I feel like, having that reason, what is your why are you doing this, is really important. Next up, we're going to talk about intentions. Number 2 is that it's important to set clear intentions with one another from the beginning. I feel like the two of you need to make sure that you're both on the same page.
Right, and you know what you're getting yourself into.
When it comes to being in a long distance relationship, for myself, like even regular relationships, you want to know that the two of you are on the same page and knowing that you've got the same idea and direction for where this is headed. I feel like it's not going to work if one person is like, we're just going to see how this goes, but the other person's already ready and committed to be like, I'm ready to go the distance and make this work. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, I got my whole future planned out, how many kids I want, and it has to be has to be like set in the beginning, and your intentions has to be clear since the beginning. You know. And
that's not to say that it's like in the getting to know each other's stages with someone, you're there like pen and paper ready, like, okay, so where do you see this going? Like, what do you see this future for us? It's as in, like, once you've already decided, like, okay, let's do this long distance thing, I feel like the two of you need to be on the same page in knowing like where this is going and like what your idea is for it. Ultimately, when it comes to LDRs, the goal is to end up in one place together, right? I feel like everyone's situation is different, but typically that's the goal, is to be together in the end. And you two really need to decide on whether that's going to be like you move somewhere else together, or one person moves to where the other person is, again, setting those intentions and just knowing like where this is going. And I feel like that's something that we definitely did in the beginning of our relationship as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, like Leizell said, you know, we actually sat down and spoke about our intentions and what we want to do moving forward, because, you know, without that, you don't know where you're going to go with the relationship. You don't know if it's going to be, you know, long term, or this is just like a buddy or any pen pal or anything like that. So you have to be clear with your intentions since the beginning, from jump.
For Alan and I, like once we figured out like, okay, this is something that we wanted to do, we had to be really clear with like, okay, yes, this is what we want for each other, this is what we want with each other. And yeah, it's all about just setting those intentions so that there's no assumptions within the relationship, and so that the two of you are aware of exactly what each other's thought process is and like where the two of you see this is going. Because as I said in the beginning, like, you don't want one person to be ready to be committed and then the other person's like, actually, let me just see where this goes, because you got to be at that same level with it all, I feel. So yeah, I feel like it's really important to state your intentions from the beginning when the two of you know that you want to be committed, to really know where both of you are at with it. Next up, number 3 is have something to look forward to. And this is actually one of my favorite points, because it's all about setting plans and goals when it comes to your relationship. So I feel like it's really important to sit down and talk with your partner and set goals and plans, like as individuals, but also as a couple as well.
Right. You know, one thing that I know we spoke about and things that we implemented is like having like a short-term goal, a mid-term goal, and a long-term goal. It could be like now setting up our next trip together. You know, that's going to be like a short-term goal, or it could be as short as like, what are we doing within the week? Right. Yeah. So I'd say it's really important to talk about what we're going to do for the short term, mid term, and long term. Your long term goal, obviously, ending with each other and how we're going to be together. Yeah. And even like after that fact too, as well, right? Yeah. What we did one time, we had like a mood board on things that we're going to acquire or things that we want long term, whether the house, the cars, kids. So things like that, I would say, you know, something that you want to look forward to, you know. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that you even don't have like your first experience on, like not seeing snow. You know, those are things that for me, I get excited about, because there's so many more memories that we want to create. There's so many more events and places that we want to go to. So for me, I know I can't wait. You know, I really can't wait till we do all those things. Yeah, for sure. And one thing that has also helped us a lot as well in regards to like having something to look forward to, especially within like the first year of our relationship, is, I just gotta say, like, I feel like it was really hard when it came to saying goodbye to Alan, like for me, because the whole idea of not knowing when you're gonna see each other again, that would like freak me out, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna see this guy again. Like, obviously, like we knew we would, but it was like, if you don't have a set date and kind of like plan out like, okay, at least we know we're gonna see each other at this time of the year, or in this month, or on this day, sitting down and planning out your year, like, okay, what months are we free, what trips can we make, where can we go, what can we do, really does help prevent like any anxiety from happening. Because I know that's something that I definitely went through, is like when we left each other, it's like, I don't know when we're gonna see each other again, which is really interesting, because I feel like now that we're in this pandemic and our borders are closed, that has completely gone out the window. Like, I don't have any issues with the whole concept of not knowing when we're gonna see each other again. But in the first beginning stages, I feel like, yeah, that's something that can really help, is pre-planning your next trip while you're already on your current trip, or even just before it, so that you have that idea of knowing like, okay, it's all good, like we're going to see each other, sooner than not knowing when you actually are going to see each other. So I feel like that's really important too. Yeah, we joked around. I remember in the beginning when the first time we met, we didn't know the next time we were going to see each other, and we were like, is this like the first time and the last time I'm
like,
going
am I going to see you again?
Right. Yeah. So, but it was such a great experience, and I couldn't wait. And I didn't want to make you think that I'm like, oh no, I'm really serious. We just didn't think about it. And when we sat down and planned it, it kind of worked out. Like, oh, okay, so 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, when do we want to, like the next time we see each other? And plus, once you do that, like once you plan, hey, it's going to be 5 months, then financially you can plan your months out.
Yeah, I
like,
feel like
you
that
know
helps a lot.
how much to save. Yeah, exactly. How much you want to put away, how much you save, how much you want to spend on the trip, and you know, things like that. So it'll definitely help once you plan those little short-term goals and mid-term and long-term.
Yeah, definitely, because as you guys know, long-distance relationships, those flight tickets, especially as you're like if you're as far as Alan and I are from each other, Australia to US, it ain't cheap. So it's important to kind of sit down and, you know, figure out what dates you can see each other, and as Alan mentioned, like set up some type of like savings plan as to like what money you can put away for that. In regards to like even having something to look forward to, such as like a date night. I know for us, since we're kind of in this limbo of not knowing when we're going to see each other again because of this whole pandemic, even having like a date night to look forward to with each other, like we'll kind of, you know, check in and be like, hey, when can we spend time together, like just focusing on each other, because it does kind of get down to routine where you guys call each other every day, you text each other when you can, whatever your situation is, and that's like just something that you do out of habit. But when it comes to having something to really look forward to, like a date night, even in regular relationships, I know that's something that you would look forward to as well. So for us, it's like really cool to be able to sit down and be like, okay, let's schedule date night for this night, and let's cook this, let's watch this, let's do this, and it just gets us really excited for it. And as we said, like gives you something to look forward to. All right, so next up is number 4, and that is open communication and understanding. Obviously, communication is key in all relationships, but particularly in long distance, because communication is a major key factor in your relationship, because we don't have the physical in a long distance relationship. So as I said, communication is key, and I feel like number one thing is that you want to know when you want to hear from each other. So for example, everybody's situation is different. Everybody has different schedules when it comes to their life and managing a long distance relationship, but you really have to know when you want to check in with each other and hear from each other and catch up with each other, whether that be on the daily, every other day, weekly. But it's really important to know with each other when you can expect to hear from each other.
Right, I think for us, we're very fortunate that our schedules align, and even though we have like a 14 to 15 hour difference sometimes, we are very fortunate that we get to speak all the time. We get to spend time with each other a lot. So a lot of people don't know that about our relationship. We're actually on the phone with each other a lot and all the time. And for me, again, we don't have the luxury of being together. So I'd rather be on the phone with you all the time. You know, you know exactly what I'm doing, and I tell you what I'm excited about, what's putting me down, what's like what I'm looking forward to. So I think, you know, definitely open communication, and it definitely goes a long way, and you definitely need that.
Yeah, for sure. So like Alan was saying, we do have that luxury of being able to talk with one another whenever we want, just because our schedules do align like that, even though we're on the complete opposite sides of the world. Like when it's nighttime for him, it's daytime for me, and vice versa. We are able to communicate whenever we want to, but not everybody has that luxury. And I know, like, for us, sometimes I'm like, do you want me to just leave you alone like for a bit? Like, do you want to go and do your thing while I do mine? Because you gotta sit down and talk with your partner and know like what they want when they want to spend time with you, and vice versa. Like the two of you have to know like what you two want from each other in terms of communicating as well. So I feel like that's really important too. It's to not just expect the other person to always want to talk to you, or always want to be on the phone with you, or always want to be like FaceTiming you. You got to know like when the two of you can have that time together to talk. So something that I want to touch on when it comes to communication and understanding as well, not everybody is perfect, and yes, sometimes we do find that we do have disagreements here and there, and I feel like for us, we've set the tone that it's really important to resolve arguments and to not leave anything left unsaid. One thing that we also do make a major note of as well is to not go to bed mad. I just feel like for me that's really important, because I always like to know that everything is at peace and all good before I go to bed at night. And you don't want to bring like those problems into your next day. So I feel like it's really important to sit down and resolve all your issues and leave everything out on the table, figure it out together, and not leave things unsaid.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my mom's advice, is don't go to sleep and not resolve things and be mad at each other. I don't want to drag it out. We both don't, and we don't want to go, like you said, the next day talking about the same issue, you know. So I think we've done a great job from the beginning, for the most part, like to attack it from the beginning and really talk it out. Like really, that's what we said in the beginning. Let's talk it out. There's nothing that we can do. I mean, even our situation, obviously being long distance, that's all we have. We have to talk it out. Since we can't hug it out, or you know, like
that's
we have to
that's
talk.
The thing too.
We have to talk.
Like you don't have that option of like, all right, like let's just hug and kiss it out, let's sort everything out, we'll be all good. Sometimes I feel like, that physical touch definitely makes things a lot easier, because as soon as you get that hug, it's like all your issues melt away. But then sometimes those issues can come back up again later because you haven't properly sat down and resolved through them and like talked through them. So I feel like in an LDR you really are forced to like, you know, talk, and that's something that we both had to set the tone with each other and really come to know that this is what we have to do whenever we have like issues that arise. And yeah, I feel like we've done a really good job when it comes to communicating. Like I said, we aren't perfect. We have issues and disagreements here and there. So like I'm pretty proud to say that we always resolve everything that we go through. There's no thing that we're not continuously working through or have like solved. If that makes sense. Yeah,
I think we've done a great job not sweeping things under the rug. You know, and I'm not talking about just in a relationship. I'm like, it could be brother, sister. Like I went through so many other relationships where people were not open to tell you how they feel, and it builds up. Like when they hide that and mask it, and then after a while they just blow up. You know, they blow up and their emotions blow up because they never told you from the beginning. So if you communicate that from the beginning, what the issue is and how to resolve it, you don't. Nothing gets built up, and you can resolve things right at once.
Definitely, you know? And it's funny because I'm an Aquarius and we don't really like to show our feelings. Like I've never really been the type of person to fully unmask myself and really show how I feel. If I go through something, I keep that to myself, but I feel like getting into this relationship with Alan, he's really brought out like a different side of me where I feel comfortable enough to really be able to express myself and actually voice how I feel, because I know like past younger self would just, you know, kind of be like, well, get over it, like sweep it under the rug, like let's just leave it at that and I'll get over it. But I feel like, as Alan said, it's really important to bring things out on the table and sort through them so that they don't come up at a later time and they're not being dragged out. To piggyback on what Leizell is saying, in the beginning, or even past relationships with partners or my family or friends, you know, no one really, like Leizell got that out of me, where she would ask me, how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? And I told her, I'm like, wow, I never had anyone ask me how I felt about how that situation. And because you set that tone in the beginning, it helped me pretty much open up to you. And that's all since the beginning, we've been communicating so much that all I have to do is tell you how I feel now. Like before, I was so reserved and I would like not tell you, but now I'm so comfortable, like, hey, you know what? This is exactly how I feel. Once you get it out, it's so much easier to communicate, because after that, you tell you how you feel, and then that's it. There's really nothing else to it. You know, there's no more surprises. There's nothing else. So I think it helps so much, like me telling you how I feel. So yeah, for sure. And it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I remember when you used to tell me like, wow, no one's ever actually sat down and really listened to me and like asked me like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And I feel like that's something about me as well. Like in the past, I was never really one to tell people how I was feeling, but I was there to listen. I'm more of a listener. And to go off of that, like when it comes to communication, resolving issues, whatever it may be, just talking in general, it's really important to listen to understand and comprehend rather than to listen just to develop a response. I feel like a lot of people, when they have conversations, they tend to listen, but they're not properly digesting what's being said. They're listening, but they're already forming a response in their mind. And I feel like in that case, things aren't properly being, how do I put it, babe? Like they're not properly being discussed.
They're
and
not
resolved
discussed and resolved.
Yeah, I even have to check myself sometimes because I'll notice that, you know, sometimes I might be already forming like a response in my head whenever we're talking about something, and it's like, okay, just chill, really listen to what this other person is saying so that you can actually have a proper understanding and proper comprehension when it comes to an issue or even just talking in general.
Yeah, I think we all do that, like human nature. Like we listen and we get like the first half of it, and then we know already, like, you know, your response to it, or you just talk about something else that is more important to you without even listening.
Yes.
So
like sometimes you might be having a conversation with someone and they're already like talking about something else, and it's like, did you not hear what I said?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I was talking about one thing, or I was just talking about this. Why are we talking about this now? You know?
Yeah. So I feel like it's really important to listen to understand, not just to form a response. That goes hand in hand with solving issues, like whatever issues you may be going through. Like if you really are sitting there and listening to one another and really understanding, then you are able to solve problems from both points of view. And that's not like problems as in like relationship issues, maybe even like things that may be going on in like your life, like, oh, I've got this issue at work and I'm really trying to figure this out. Like you two can kind of talk about it and really solve it from the other person's point of view and also your point of view, so you can come up with some type of joint resolution. And just overall, it's important to be open and honest with each other, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we say that to say just please communicate.
Yes.
Don't stop. Just communicate as much as you can.
Yeah, definitely. Last but not least, something that's really going to help make a long distance relationship work is a team mindset. To really know that the two of you are in this together as a unit, as a team, as one.
Right. It's very important that you guys are always on the same page. So.
For sure.
Because things, you know, again, like I said earlier, like life happens. Things, we might not see the same thing the same way all the time, and just know that you and your partner, your end goal is the same.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to always think that.
Yeah, it's very important to remember that you two are on the same team, especially when it comes to things that you have to overcome, issues that you have to resolve. For example, if you guys are going through an issue, an argument, you have to remind yourself that it is you two versus the problem. Like, let's say that you find that you two may be arguing because you feel like you're not communicating with one another enough, or you're not able to get on the phone and talk to each other enough. Because I know that's an issue that a lot of people go through, is like they tend to start arguing because they feel like the other person isn't talking to them enough or something like that. That's not really something to argue with each other about, I feel. That's something that the two of you should be sitting down and being like, okay, we're not talking enough. Like, what can we do to overcome this issue? And that's where the team mindset comes in, to know that it's the two of you versus whatever problem or issue you have to overcome.
Yeah. You know, with me, and just even thinking about that, honestly, what helped me and what helped us is that majority of our problems is really not us. It's not personal. Yeah. Like, people take things personal. And number thing, and what I say to you all the time is that the issue is the distance. So I always blame the distance. I always blame the distance, because majority of our issues is like, oh, we miss each other so much.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, what it is for me and for us is, it's not personal, it's the distance.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how I always resolve it.
I know sometimes, like, if we miss each other, we can get irritated. We start like nitpicking things, and sometimes, I'll be honest, like that turns into an argument. But it does. We have to like bring it back down and be like, you know what, we're only being like this because we miss each other. Like if we were there together or here or wherever we were together, if we were together right now, this would not be an issue that we would be arguing over. It's only an issue because we miss each other. And I feel like 90% of the time that is a big issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in long distance relationships, it's not that the two of you actually have a problem, it's that you miss each other. And if you were together right now, you wouldn't have any problems going on.
1,000% correct. Like that's exactly how I feel. It's like we really can't see each other, but when we are together, like I know when we're together, we never really have the same issues.
Yeah, we don't have anything.
I know that for a fact.
We're like 100 when we're together. There's like no problems, not a care in the world. But it's like some days, as I said, we'll be like nitpicking things, and it's like, why are we being like this? Like it's only because we miss each other. So yeah, as I said, if the two of you find that, yeah, for example, you may feel like you're not talking enough, sit down, know that it's the two of you as a team versus the issue. Don't argue with one another like you're not talking to me enough, you're not spending enough time with me. It's all about recognizing that there's an issue and how can we overcome that together. Just
another thing I want to mention is that you definitely, this is something that I stress upon, and I told Leizell this, is we really can't stop getting to know each other. You know, remember when I said that to you?
Yeah, I definitely remember that. You said that in the very beginning, like when we were kind of talking about what our feelings were, where things were headed. That was one tone that Allan set, is like, I never want to stop getting to know you, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's just because people like get comfortable. That's when issues come about. Like when you stop getting to know each other, issues can come about. And for me, it's really important for me to constantly get to know each other. And you know, I can't stress that enough.
I feel like, yeah, we kind of get to that comfortable stage as much as it can happen in a regular relationship, because obviously, you know, you guys have a routine, you see each other, you eat together, you go out, you go to bed, like it's all routine, it's all normal. But that can happen in a long distance relationship as well. If you guys become so comfortable with just having that routine, it sounds weird, but like you got to keep it fresh, you got to keep getting to know each other, and you also need to check in with each other as well. That was definitely one tone that he set from the beginning of our relationship, is like, I never want to stop like getting to know you, because yeah, you tend to get comfortable and you feel like you know the other person, but I feel like as human beings we're constantly morphing and evolving, and our mindsets are changing, and it's important to know that you're still on the same path and you still know each other well enough. Does that make sense? So because you know how people talk about like, oh, we fell out of love because we grew apart, but I feel like you know, if you're continuing to get to know each other, you're continuing to fall in love with each other, then that keeps that spark alive. Yeah,
I mean, till this day, like I never, like I didn't, like the other time you were like, did I tell you I played a violin? I'm like, I didn't know that at all. I was very surprised. I was like, really?
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. It's like sometimes we'll like surprise each other and be like, oh yeah, by the way, like when I was younger I used to do this, or I used to do that. We're always constantly bringing out facts, and it's just
like my nephew is like a gamer. He loves playing games, and I didn't know. She like told me the other day. I'm like, oh, you know, I used to like playing Call of Duty. I'm like, really? I had no clue.
Right. Yeah, so
yeah,
I feel
there's so much more.
Exactly, like over this past time of our relationship so far, being long distance, we've gotten to know each other a lot. Like I feel like I have never gotten to know someone as much as I've gotten to know you, like on such a deep level, and vice versa. Like I've never really properly let someone in as deep to know everything about me, but there's still so much more. Like it's crazy more, yeah. And that's like all from a distance. Like we still got to learn things about each other in person, if that makes sense. Like there's still
I can't wait. Like there's so much more. And again, going back to, not to jump back around, but like going back to what we were saying, those are the things I look forward to, because there's going to be so much more that I'm going to find out, like how you are. And you know, one thing that I know about Leizell is she's very OCD. Like I can't wait for that. You know, like a lot of people, you know, run away from them. I'm like, no, those are things that I can't wait, when things are organized in the house, and those are the things I'm lacking. Like if you can improve my life, better. It's even better for me. So like I can't wait till we move in together and stuff like that, because at least for me, I know things are gonna get organized and planned out. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, as Alan said, it's really important to not stop when it comes to getting to know each other, because as I said, people fall complacent, but it's like if you're continuing to get to know each other like on a regular basis, then
you're always seeking to find something new and exciting about the other person. So.
Definitely, yeah. So that was Alan's little extra bonus tip for you guys. But for mine, something that I think is really important as well is that you have to continue to flirt with your partner. And I know that sounds strange, but trust me when I say, as human beings, we want to be wanted, and I feel like showing that affection and like flirting with your partner keeps things like fresh and new. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like we still have that chemistry with each other where we're not like complacent and it's just like hey, like we still like flirt around and like, does that make sense? I know it sounds funny, but it's like I feel like it's really important. It sounds silly, like flirt with your partner, but it's like, you know, as I said, as human beings, we want to be wanted and desired. It's important to continue to do that for your partner. Obviously that pertains to regular relationships as well, but you know, just to show affection towards one another and just to continue to do those little gestures for one another that let your partner know that they are wanted.
Right. I mean, for me, what I usually do, and it's very natural for me to do it, because to me, Leizell is naturally like beautiful. So like for me, it's easy for me to compliment her all the time. And you know, I know it's exterior. If you guys don't know, like, because I've known Leizell, you know, not just in a exterior level, but a deeper level, you know, you're as beautiful inside and as you are on the outside. And when I see you, it's just like, you know, wow, like I can't believe. Sometimes I'm like, damn, I'm really lucky. Like I'm really lucky. Like, wow, how did I end up? Like I feel like I won a jackpot, you know. So it's just easy for me, natural for me to compliment her, and that, I guess that goes under flirting, but it's easy. It's really easy for me to just compliment her all the time, and I'm not doing it just to say. It's just look at her, like she takes care of herself, so it's just natural for me.
And that's vice versa. Like I just love, you know, hyping him up, and yeah, like hyping your partner up is part of flirting as well, and like making them feel good. And I love that we still have that between us, and I feel like that's something that really keeps the energy of our relationship fresh, because I feel like, yeah, sometimes it can be easy to fall into some type of routine where you stop doing those little things, and I feel like it's really important. So yeah, I know it sounds funny, but flirt with your partner, it honestly makes a difference. So there we have you guys. That is our advice when it comes to things you need in order to make a long distance relationship work. We hope you guys found this helpful. As we said in the beginning, this isn't professional advice. This is purely just from our own viewpoint and experiences that we've had together. But yeah, we really just wanted to put that out there and hopefully potentially provide some clarity for some of you and also help some of you.
Absolutely. And I think if you guys have any other advice for us or anybody else, you know, leave a comment down below, and
yeah, for sure.
We would, you know, definitely would like to hear it.
Let's make it a discussion in the comments, kind of bounce off each other and, you know, give our own pieces of advice as well, because as we said, this is purely from our own experiences, but everybody has their own as well. So yeah, be sure to leave a comment down below, and if you guys did find this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, like it before you leave it, and if you sat through all of that and you're still here at the end watching, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. So like we always say, stay happy, stay in love. We will talk to you guys in the comments, and we'll see you all in our next video.